Cowboy Jim, hey, I think we got her working. Saw the last video. Everything seems to have fallen into place. I want to thank the people down at Staples in Fort Mac here. It's the most successful. I'm told it's the most successful Staples store in Canada. I'll tell you, children, I tend to believe that. But good people, they got my laptop working. Boy, when I started 9 months ago, I didn't even know how to turn it on. Got that figured out. Still don't know how to really do most everything on it, but that's okay. I find it rather interesting that when I was a kid growing up, the thing you relied on was your faith in God. Nowadays, what we rely on is the processes of intellectual thought uh, on the internet, on Google, on whatever. I I don't know. I think perhaps we missed her a bit. A lot of times, a person seemingly can go through a whole day. The only real important decision is what their stomach tells them, whether it's time to use the washroom or not. I mean, everything we say, it's somebody else's thought, processes of thought. Sounds kind of, well, I think it sounds kind of wrong. Anyways, I have mentioned a whole lot of times about a young man that abused me well, just about a year ago now was when he started. And a number of people who did not believe me, I was astounded. And it seems to me like the legal system didn't believe anything I had to say either. Seems like they're changing their minds. Hot damn, kind of glad of that. I, I want every video that I do to end in this manner, to end in a suggestion that your hope, my hope, is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. It took me a long time to get to the place where I quit talking about hunting and horses and cattle. Long time. Because this niche that I've cut out, I believe God has been instrumental. It's not a very big niche. Some people say niche. I'm not sure. Used to hunt Nietzsche Valley. I think that was a tribute to the Indians that lived there before we all came along and suggested they find a different lifestyle. But it's been a rough little road to hoe. That's a row. That would be R-O-W, not R-O-E. It's not bait for fishing, nor roe for frying. It's a row. And it's a tough row. But it's a row. And it is what I would kind of like to say I chose, but I don't think I did. It's kind of like I think that God chose this row that I am attempting to hoe. I have a very dear friend. He said, "I want, I want the Jim Martin that I knew 2 years ago to talk to me." He said, "You take all those videos you're doing and you throw them in the garbage." He said, "Because they're just processed hay." And that's very important that that man whom I still hold in the deepest of respect, and I just went out and started my old Dodge, and it's because of his love, his concern for me. He fixed my truck. That abuser that tried to take everything away from my grandchildren and my sons and me, everything that I owned, he, hot damn, he was going to take it. And God intervened. I lost a lot, but God intervened. Every time I prayed about that, I would say, "God, I really would like my handgun back, my crossbow for crippled people, because I kind of qualify. I got off a scaffold back in '85, and doctors' bedside manners, they weren't too good. And I said, 'What's the prognosis, brother?' He said, 'You're a cripple. You're a cripple today. You're going to be a cripple the day you die.'" And I looked at him and I thought, "I don't feel like a cripple, son. I hurt a fair bit, but I don't feel like a cripple." And he said, "Where do you want your arm to hang?" And being of Irish descent, I said, "It's my left arm. I'd kind of like it to hang off my left shoulder, if that'd be all right." And he said, "You don't understand." I said, "No, sir, I don't." He said, "Your arm will never move again." He said, "You really broke it." I said, "I had that figured out." And he said, "Where do you want your arm to hang?" I said, "Well, hang it down there so that my thumb can hook into my belt, just below my belt in my pocket." But my God had other plans. And my God, he worked them out. I may well still be able to be called a cripple, but it's not because of any physicality. It might be my mental acuity or lack thereof. May not be. I remember well where I came from. I remember well how I got here. I know well where I'm going because I've taken the time to study where I've been. That young man that abused me, people kind of get a bit tired of this, but you better know it, because that young man's still out there, and that young man exemplifies what are abusers. They're bullies. They're people who don't have enough guts and courage to make it on their own. They'd rather take from people who they believe are incapable of protecting themselves. That young man, he used drugs. That's fact. And I was incapable for 2.5, 3 months. I didn't know he was giving me drugs. "Well, let me carry your lunchbox into work. Looks heavy." He called it my tackle box. every day, in every way. I ate that food that I had made, that he insisted on carrying in. And every day I would eat that crap, and I got further and further away from who I was. Which brings me back to the young man who fixed my truck. That's the part of me that he didn't like, but that was the part of me that wasn't me. That was the part of me like that doctor who said, "You're a cripple." Well, I sure as hell may just be. But I don't have to lay down and say that's all I'll ever be, because that's not all I'll ever be. Because I have a God, and He loves me, and He loves you. So if you have the guts, you watch that show that I watched last night, or tried to, I couldn't. Indian Horse. Understand what abuse is. Understand what abusers are. Understand that they believe their needs, wants, wishes are more important than who and what you are. And they will do everything in their power to demean and diminish you in order to fulfill their wishes. Not all religions are wrong. I had a good priest down southeast of foremost Alberta, and oh, that man loved God. Oh, he was not a handsome man. He looked just like I do. He was Irish. Not all religions are bad. Not all churches are bad. Not all denominations are bad. But those who abuse, they sure are bad. I've spoken for a long time. I've told you some stories. I'm not telling you anymore. I know I was not physically abused. I kind of like that. Come close. Oh, dear Lord. But I wasn't. But I saw abuse. So when I watched that movie last night, or tried to, 7th, 8th time I've tried to watch it, couldn't. Sat there, tears. Oh, crap. And I listen to people, how they talk about First Nations, my Métis friends. And I think, God forgive you, you fatherless children. Not every Irishman is a drunk. Quite a few. Not every French person stands around shouting Vive Quebec. Not every person reflects well their ancestry. A lot of us think independently. That's a good thing. It is my hope and prayer that you think individually. I hope that you don't take one single blessed bloody thing that I say without pondering, thinking, processing thought. Asking yourself, is life really like this? It's called processing thought. So, I do pray that you're well able to process thoughts. Oh, that abuser that I let beat me up, boy, that was hard. Oh, I scrappy. I have some techno skills that my old judo instructor taught me. But I let him beat me up. Didn't raise a hand, didn't say a word. Oh, he hurt me. Broke one rib. Now it turns out through an MRI, did more damage in my shoulder blade and other things. And I well remember that bastard, that fatherless child. Oh, his dad already disowned him. His mother, too. Don't blame them. He come up to me in Independent Grocers and he said, if you ever tell anyone what I have done to you, I'll have you know there will be serious consequences. I lost my job just a few weeks after I allowed him to beat me up in the hope that I wouldn't lose my job. The abuser, he was fired that night. I hoped that they would have allowed me to recover because I was still having flashbacks. I couldn't talk. They were so kind to me. My former employer was so kind to me. I have recovered. Well, you may not think so. You watch my videos, but I really have. Children, don't let abuse carry on. Don't let those selfish bastards inflict pain upon you. Eating disorders, too much, too little. Don't allow the abuse that perhaps you were through and perhaps you weren't. Psychological, physical. Don't let that abuse continue to own you, control you, exert its influence over you, because it will. It will rob your joy, your love, your potential for love, your potential for peace with God. With a mate. God bless. Well, perhaps I will call this tape Loss of Joy, perhaps. I'm not sure. I'll think about that. I'm pretty joyful. But then I'm pretty hopeful in my God. Because I've listened to him. Back in the 60s and 70s, they said God was dead. Not dead. Not dead. God bless.